Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
teach people like, hey, it's okay, change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
How you think you are. 27 days to radically shift your thinking and upgrade your life. More wealth, health, love, and joy.
Your course is the first course that I don't mind repeating again and again and again.
Click on the link for the special offer or visit the website at www.arvettemclean.com. Greetings and welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. Today's topic is creating a world of change. I have Stephen here today.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Me too. I'm glad to see you in person.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yes. So creating a world of change.
Yes, creating a world of change.
Yeah.
It's pretty important. Leaving a legacy. You know, when we think about it, I don't really think that we do think about it actually, but leaving a legacy. What is it that you want to leave behind for everybody to remember you by? And so I think on our everyday journey in life while we're still here, what is it that we give to the world? You know? And I think even in my journey, I could say when I realized that I wanted to leave something behind, it made me change a lot when it came towards myself as far as how I presented myself in the world. My actions, showing more love, respect, and just being more of a giving person, because when you think about it, it's somebody out here that's watching you, that admires you, and they follow your footsteps.
Right.
And even though they may not say nothing, it is somebody out here that's watching. So I think that it's almost like being a role model, almost, but you just don't know that you're actually being a role model. So I think that when we get to understand that the importance of leaving a legacy, if we leave a good legacy behind, that creates a change for the next generation behind us. And so if we want to make the change, we made the change within ourselves, and we just pass the baton on to the next.
Yeah. So I never really thought about leaving a legacy either. Probably because I don't have children. You know, well, I have children, but I don't have.
I got you.
But I just never thought in terms of leaving a legacy. I just, you know, I live my life to the best that I can. But yeah, I think when you put on there like leave a legacy, that does like kick it up a notch.
Right. It kicks it up a notch, and it makes it changes us, not just us, but it changes the world, because we never know who we may inspire. And that individual that we inspire, they may be that one person that changes the world, and we just don't know what they may do, but it may be something that of a magnitude so amazing that we might be like, wow, you know. And they may say, well, hey, I used to look up to you, or, you know, and you be like, what, me? You know, like, really? And I think that's something as to where, especially nowadays, just putting our footprint into the world and just trying to make change. And even though, as human beings, we make changes while we're here, little small things, we do what we can. But if we can change something in somebody else, I think that's something that's really amazing to do.
Yeah. So when we think of change, so I guess a lot of times we talk about change, but does that imply that something is wrong?
No, change doesn't imply that something is wrong. I think that it only means it's time to grow. So it doesn't mean that wherever you are in life that you're in a bad spot. It's just more room for you to grow and develop and become, a better individual. Not saying that you're not, a good human being now, but just all in general, because we're not here to be stagnant. There's always room for us to grow. Even myself, I don't know everything. I don't want to know everything, So I always look for growth in my life and in my journey. And then I think for individuals, it's the same thing. It's just looking for ways that you can grow. And then if you can grow, then, like I said, you're going to change somebody on your journey, on your path that you walk, that you come across.
Yeah, so you basically equating change and growth as the same thing or something very similar.
Something very similar.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so we're creating, for ourselves, we're trying to grow as well as helping someone else to grow.
Helping someone else on a journey, yeah. And I think even though when we pass the baton on to somebody else, prime example, like I have a daughter, and my daughter, her goal in life is she wants to be a doctor. So I support her fully. I'm like, hey, that is awesome. You want to be a doctor? Go for it, And so when I think about that, I sit back and I think about the things in my life and my journey, like me having my own business, being an entrepreneur every day, trying to make myself better at what I do, and trying to pretty much give her the blueprint, and not like just mapping it out like, hey, you follow this step by step. But when she gets of that age, she can sit back and say, Dad, my dad was an entrepreneur and she wants to be a doctor. Well, hey, she might want to open up her own practice or something like that. So things like that to make the change for the next person. So those are the things I think that, when we sit back and we really put our mind to it and we just think about what is it that I want to leave behind for the world, not just our family, but for the world, what's something that we want to change in the world. And my thing, I would say, to change the world, I want to see people do better. I want to see people get to that point as to where they can say, you know what, I know I can do this, I want to do this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. Achieving their dreams, not being scared, overcoming their fears, and not being afraid to fail, because within our journey we're going to come across times as to where we may sit back and we may fumble, but we get back up and just keep going until we accomplish what it is that we accomplish.
Yeah, so I think if I wanted to change anything, I think it would be how we perceive our experiences here. Because, when I was younger, much younger, I didn't even want to be here. Like, I couldn't understand why in the world would God send me to this forsaken place. Like, I just thought it was a travesty to have to be here on earth. And I could never understand why people would be upset when people die. Because I'm like, aren't they going someplace better?
Right.
So it took me a long time to really understand, like, okay, living is beautiful. And understand why would we be hesitant about dying, right? And so I think what I've come to realize, for myself, is that in our physical, like here, us being on earth, we're in our physical form. And then when we leave, we'll be like in our energetic, kind of spiritual form. And so when you're in that form, you don't get to experience the physical. So you don't get to experience hugs. You don't get to eat cheesecake. You don't, you don't get to.
Exactly.
It's certain things you don't get to do. You don't probably get to smell flowers or something like that. And so I think that we spend a lot of our time being unhappy in the physical. But what if we realize that every experience that we're having in the physical, we wouldn't be able to have it once we left here? And I think just like kind of flipping the perspective, like, everything that we're experiencing is beautiful. Like, even though it may seem challenging, but if you can change the way you look at it, then
I agree with you on that. That's something else I can't agree with you on that. If we can sit back and change our perspective on things, because what you just said, one thing about it is, while we're here, we should be living our life to our fullest, because we only get one physical life. After that, we are in our spiritual form, just I would say energy. And so we have to, if we were to think about that every day, like, wow, it's almost like thinking about it in the form of what happened if you wasn't here tomorrow. If tomorrow wasn't guaranteed, how would you live your day here?
Today.
Yeah, how would you live today?
Yeah.
You will probably do everything that it is that you always wanted to do. And so if we had that thought process on a daily basis, I think people will really sit back and just live their life the way that they always seen themselves living, which would be beautiful.
Yeah, and experience it differently. I don't know what I was watching, but I remember seeing this lady, this may have been yesterday on television, and she was saying how, I think there was some type of explosion. I don't know why I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it was some type of explosion, and a lot of people died in the explosion, but her young daughter was severely injured. And so, of course, she's upset, that her daughter was injured. However, her daughter survived. And so I guess in that process, she was like, usually when her daughter is screaming and crying and, being, a little girl, it irritates her. And she was like, she just thought about, like, what if I never hear that sound again? And so she was like, just the sound of her daughter crying, it was just the most beautiful thing, just to be able to hear that. And I was like, yeah, that is a change in perspective.
Yeah, that's a change in perspective.
Yeah, things that would typically irritate us if we didn't have it. Then what,
Right. And so, just changing the world step by step, little pieces, little things that we do on a regular basis. If we just think about it, when we wake up in the morning, what is it that, I want to give to the world today? How do I want to present myself to the world today? How do I want to feel on an everyday basis? Because you never know who is watching you. You never know who somebody is out here that they are. You inspire them, to be great or to do accomplish their dream. You pretty much inspire them to do something like that. So I would say, if anything, just thinking about that in a total different view, changing the perspective on it.
And I think too, like living your best life, being in a place of joy, being in a place of love. Like, the more you can be that, the more you can be happy with yourself, the more of a change or impact you make on the world. And like you say, people are watching, whether you're whether they are or not. But when you're like exuding joy, people are like, oh, I want some of that.
Exactly. I want to experience what you experience.
Right. So let's see, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that would just make the change for us to, change the world. And I just want to see people, like I said, I just really want to see people just do great, amazing things with their life. Because sometimes we get stuck in the narrative of where we are. If we're in a bad situation or things are not going right in our life, then we don't really think about the possibilities of what's the light at the end of the tunnel. Basically, we're just trapped at that negative standstill mindset. So I think that every day, just really tuning in and changing that perspective of what you just said, and you can slowly but surely change the world.
Yeah. So I think that one thing that is kind of a hard concept to grasp
It is.
is that we actually create our own realities. And so, of course, we're always looking outside of ourselves, and we're thinking that it's something outside of us that's causing whatever is going. We think we're responding to the outside world.
Right.
But really, we're creating the outside world. And I know it's kind of like a complex concept to grasp. Or for me, that was a complex concept. Like, I understood it in theory,
Yeah.
but I didn't understand it in practice. And so I'm like, okay, if he's doing blank thing,
Right.
how am I causing that? You
Yeah.
know, what is my role in that? But it's like when we change our perspective on things, if we start looking at people through the eyes of God, seeing people the way Source, God, the universe sees people, it changes everything. For one, it changes how you're seeing them, but it also changes how they are now behaving.
Right.
And so people will show up basically the way you expect them to.
Very true. Very true. It took me a while to really get that concept as well. When I started to think about how I view people and how I perceived them, it was something within me, you know, that I was mirroring that same, you know, I was mirroring that in somebody else. So I had to mind my mind.
Yes.
Basically, I had to mind my mind. Like, hold up, let's pause here. You know, and when I did, it was quite beautiful, and it took me some time. And to this day, every day sometimes I have to work on it. Every day, you know, I sit back and I'll take a second or two and think about, hey, okay, wait a minute. You know, hold on. You know, somebody, let me get my mind right real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was a beautiful thing when I actually realized, you know, hey, what I put out into the world, you know, I'm going to receive that back, even with people and relationships. You know, if I give love out here to the world, I'm going to receive that same love back. You know, and it's very beautiful. But like I said, it can be challenging for somebody who never heard of that concept. They may know it, they may hear talks of it, but they probably never practiced it before. And so it's hard for them to really sit back and sort of accept it. But until they are surrounded by somebody who is actually doing it, then they're going to be like, let me pay attention to what you're doing here. And then all of a sudden, the change comes.
Yeah, no, and like you say, how you have to remind yourself every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to remind myself moment by moment. And for example, just the other day, I just broke out in hives all over.
Wow.
So of course, everybody has something different. So some people are like, well, what did you eat? And I'm like, well, the only thing I ate was, you know, I ate this. It could have been this or it could have been that. And somebody's like, well, what's you know, like, is it your detergent?
Yeah.
Did you walk through something like outside? Like what, you know, it's like different people had different things of what was the reason why you had these hives. And, you know, I went along with it because I don't want to take responsibility for why I have hives, right? So I'm like, what did I eat? What did I walk through something? Did I use different detergent or whatever? And but in the back of my mind, I already know, like, okay, it's something in you, something in me that's causing me to have the hives, right? And so I was like, you you know, somebody did say, well, what's on your mind,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and they were like, is something bothering you? And I'm like, it's something bothering me, but not enough for me to have hives. You know,
right.
it's not that irritating to me. And so I kind of looked it up. I have a habit of looking stuff up, and
Right.
so I like looking up Louise Hay.
Okay.
So she has a book I think it's called Heal Your Life or something like that. But at any rate, she has like a list of all the ailments, a lot of ailments,
Wow.
and she tells the emotional cause for the ailment. And so I looked up hives, and so the first one I saw, it said like anxiety or fear.
Okay.
And I was like, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know, I'm not feeling that. And then the second one said something like small hidden fears. And so then when it's the word hidden, I was like, I know exactly.
You know exactly what it is.
Exactly what it is. And it's like something that's been on my mind that I don't want to be on my mind, right? And so I've been suppressing it because I don't want to think about
You
it.
don't want to think about
And because it's scary to me. And I guess it showed itself.
It just showed itself.
You know, but it's so easy for us in every moment to say, you know, I'm sick because I ate this, or I'm mad because this person did something silly, or I'm late because the traffic, or, you know. Yeah. So it's like easier to put the blame on something else instead of, you know.
It's taking the responsibility.
Yeah,
I totally get it. I agree. I agree. But yeah, I could say with that though, just like I had it was, matter of fact, day before yesterday, and I was dealing with a customer, and it was a little bit outraged. Not outraged, but it was upset, you know. And we were talking back and forth, and they sort of got more loud, and I was slowly but surely, at first I was calm, cool, and then it just started to bug me a little bit. I started to feel a little irritated, like more irritated than normal, and I'm like, all right, pause. Like let's just breathe, and, you know, because then when I took that little breath for a second and I thought about it, I said, well, nothing's gonna get better if I sit back and I give her the same energy that she's getting off. That's not gonna work, you know. So after a couple of seconds, I breathed and responded cool, calm. She responded cool and calm, still upset, but her reaction was a little bit more calmer. And then before you know it, at the end, after everything was said and done, we sitting back talking, hee hee ha ha. Yeah, but it's always the little things that we really don't think about that can play a big factor in how we perceive things in the world, and just how we can just change ourselves in general.
Yeah, so thank you for this conversation. Yeah, so basically changing the world by changing ourselves, continuing our growth, and recognizing that the more we take responsibility for who we are and what shows up for us and how we perceive what's showing up for us, the more we can have like a wonderful, joyful life.
Beautiful life.
Terrific. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Not a problem. I had fun.
And thank you for joining us too. So until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.